This is Rick Halden, substitute teacher, Cedar Valley Middle, Portland, Oregon. If you're hearing this, then someone finally found the recorder in my bag. I don't know how much time passed since that morning, but I need you to hear this before they lock that classroom again. I was hired to cover Mrs. Langford's English class for 1 week. Nothing special. Attendance, assignments, recess duty, simple. I'd taught for nearly 20 years, but I'd never seen a class like this one. Every morning, the printer by the office door spat out a fresh attendance sheet, 24 names. But when I stepped into room 2B, there were only 23 desks filled. The last desk, by the far window, the one that faced the cedar trees, was always empty. Yet it never gathered dust. A notebook sat open there every single day, its pages covered in neat handwriting I didn't recognize. Kara J. That name sat at the bottom of every attendance sheet, printed in bold, and somehow her assignments kept showing up in my grading pile. One morning, I asked about her, just trying to make small talk. The kids went silent, all 23 of them staring down at their desks. A boy muttered, "She doesn't like being called." Then the bell rang, like the room itself was cutting me off. I told myself they were just messing with the new sub. Still, something about that seat, the way the light never seemed to touch it, made my stomach twist. I should have ignored it. But curiosity's a curse teachers never shake off. The next morning I said her name anyway. Kara Jensen? The pen on that desk rolled twice, then stood upright, trembling, and scratched a single word onto the page. Here. It's strange how quickly a new place starts to feel familiar. Cedar Valley Middle isn't a big school. 3 long hallways, a single cafeteria that always smells like tomato soup, and a teacher's lounge that hums like an old fridge. By Wednesday, I'd already learned where the paper jams usually happen, which vending machine actually took quarters, and which kids whispered too much during tests. They were good kids, mostly. 7th graders, all attitude and nerves. They liked to ask about my scars, the one on my wrist from the car accident, and whether I ever failed a student. I told them no, but that wasn't true. The mornings were cold that week. Oregon mornings always are. Mist clung to the parking lot. The tall cedars looked like dark fingers scratching the sky. Inside, the floors groaned under my shoes, the way old wood does when it remembers footsteps that shouldn't still echo. Room 2B sat at the far end of the East Hall. The window faced a thin line of forest that swallowed light before it hit the ground. I always turned on the overhead bulbs even when it wasn't dark. There was something about that corner that felt dim no matter what. The students trickled in, chattering, tossing backpacks, the usual chaos. Then quiet when the bell rang. 23 faces, always 23. I started marking attendance out of habit. The printer ink smelled sharp, still fresh. 24 names. My pen paused over the last one. Kara Jensen. Every morning I'd hesitate, glance at that empty desk near the window and skip it. I told myself it was an old record that never got deleted. Schools do that sometimes. Clerical ghosts. That's what I called it in my head, a clerical ghost. Hell, I even joked about it to Ms. Davis in the front office. She didn't laugh. She looked at me, really looked, then said, "If the list says 24, just sign 24. Her tone. It wasn't a suggestion. At first, I brushed it off, but later that day, when I returned to room 2B after lunch, I noticed something different. The chair at the last desk was slightly pulled out, maybe an inch. The notebook that usually sat closed was open this time, flipped to a fresh page. Someone had written the date at the top corner in neat cursive. No assignment, just the date. And the pencil beside it was duller than before. I asked the kids who sat nearby if anyone had touched it. They all shook their heads. A girl named Emily whispered, "It's better if you don't move her things." That word, her, hit me harder than it should have. I thought it was a prank. Middle schoolers love that stuff. So I played along. I even wrote a note in the margin. Nice try. Next morning, the notebook had a reply. Same handwriting. Not a prank. That's when the curiosity started clawing. Every teacher has it, the need to know. So I stayed late after the final bell, pretending to grade papers, waiting to see which kid came back for the joke. But no one did. The janitor, old Frank, pushed his mop past the door. I asked him if anyone else had been inside after hours. He didn't even stop. He just muttered, "Don't stay late in that room, Mr. Halden. Lights act up when the fog rolls in." And then he kept walking. By Friday, I'd memorized the hum of the ceiling lights. One of them flickered every 6 seconds. I timed it, because it was easier than thinking about the empty seat. Still, I caught myself glancing there too often. I'd swear I saw faint impressions on the desk, like fingertips pressed into dust. But when I leaned closer, there was no dust at all. It was clean. Always clean. That afternoon, I caught something I can't explain. The window beside that desk fogged over from the rain outside. Across the condensation, letters appeared. Backward, as if written from inside the glass. They spelled one word. Here. I froze. The kids gasped, and before I could react, one of them shouted, "She's mad now!" Then the fog cleared. Gone. Like it never happened. The rest of the day passed in fragments. I tried to lecture, but half the class kept glancing toward that seat. At dismissal, no one wanted to walk by it. They packed up in silence, slipping out one by one. After the last student left, I stood by that desk again. The notebook was closed now. On its cover, a faint indentation, like someone had dragged a fingernail across the cardboard. Under the overhead light, the mark caught a strange shimmer, almost silver. I told myself to forget it. Just finish the week, Rick. Get your paycheck. Go home. But when I reached the door, something made me turn back. The classroom looked ordinary again. Desks, posters, chalk dust. Except for one thing. The attendance sheet still on my desk. The final line, Kara Jensen, wasn't printed anymore. It was written, by hand, in the same neat cursive as the notebook. That's when I realized. She was keeping attendance too. I should have stopped at that moment. I should have told the principal the system was glitching, tossed the attendance sheets, and gone home. But curiosity, it eats at you when you've been in classrooms long enough. Monday came with heavy rain, the kind that pounds against the glass until you can't tell if it's morning or dusk. I got to school early, hoping to catch the copier before it jammed. The office smelled like wet carpet and toner. The printer whirred, and as usual, 24 names slid out, the ink still warm. I ran my finger down the list. 23 familiar, 1 not. Kara Jensen. All right, I said to no one. Let's see what happens today. By first period, the students were quiet. Even the loud ones, Marcus and Ben, kept their heads down. The air in room 2B felt heavier, like humidity with teeth. When I set my coffee on the desk, I noticed condensation forming along the rim, even though it wasn't cold. Halfway through the lesson, the lights flickered. A few kids giggled nervously. "Power grid's old," I told them. "Don't panic." But the flickering didn't stop. It pulsed, almost rhythmic, like breathing. Then I heard it, the faint scrape of a pencil. Not mine, not the kids'. The sound came from the back row, from the empty desk by the window. Every student froze. You could hear the rain, the fluorescent hum, and that slow scratch, scratch. I walked to the desk. The pencil moved an inch, then rolled onto the floor. The notebook was open to a blank page. And right there, letters began to form. Small, careful, neat. Don't call me again. What the hell? I stepped back, my heart pounding so loud I thought the kids could hear it. The boy in front, Eli, spoke without looking up. "She told you not to." "Told me?" He nodded once. "She hears when you say her name." I didn't know what to say. Every rational part of my brain screamed to end class, call the office, anything, but instead I reached down and closed the notebook. The air temperature dropped instantly. You could see everyone's breath bloom like fog. The lights flared white, too bright, then snapped off completely. Someone screamed. Desks scraped the floor. "Stay where you are!" I shouted, though I couldn't even see them. The sound of rain vanished. The silence that followed wasn't silence at all. It was thick, charged, like the pause before thunder. And then softly, a girl's voice right behind me. "Here." I spun around. Nothing. Just darkness. When the lights came back, every kid was standing at their desk, eyes wide, faces pale. On the board behind me, a message written in thin gray chalk. "You called me again." I erased it. The chalk didn't come off. The words stayed faint, ghosted into the surface like they were etched. I told the class to pack up early. No one argued. After dismissal, I sat alone staring at that back desk. The rain outside had stopped. A low fog rolled across the playground, pressing against the glass. I swear I saw a figure standing at the tree line, thin, still, long hair moving slightly with the wind. I blinked and it was gone. That night I tried to convince myself it was exhaustion. I hadn't been sleeping much. Maybe I wrote that message myself without remembering. But then I checked the recording from the classroom camera. The timestamp showed 10:42 a.m. The footage was grainy, black and white, and right when I said her name, the camera glitched. For one frame, just one, you could see a figure sitting at that desk, head down, hair covering her face, pale hands folded neatly on the notebook. When the glitch ended, the desk was empty again. I replayed it over and over. The distortion around her wasn't like normal static. It looked like the pixels themselves were warping, bending toward her, as if the camera was being pulled from the inside. Then I noticed the sound. Under the hum of the feed, there was whispering. Not words, just the shape of them, like breath moving too close to the microphone. I paused the video and stared at that single frame for an hour. I thought maybe I was losing it. So I called the janitor, Frank, asked if he'd seen anything weird that day. He didn't even hesitate. "Room 2B?" he said. "Yeah, don't go in there after 3. That's when she shows up." I asked him who she was, but he'd already hung up. Later that night, the power flickered at home. My laptop turned itself on. The desktop background, plain blue a moment ago, was suddenly the same frame from the classroom video. The girl sitting at the desk, frozen mid-breath. Her hair covered most of her face, but this time, I could see part of her eye reflecting the camera flash. And she was looking right at me. I unplugged everything, sat in the dark until morning. The next day, the school was quiet. Too quiet. No kids in the halls, no chatter, just the hum of the old heating vents. I walked into room 2B, half expecting to see the desk gone, but it was still there. The notebook open again. The same words, faint but readable. "You called me again." And just beneath it, something new had appeared. 5 letters, shaky, uneven, carved into the wood itself. R. Halden. She'd written my name. I don't remember driving to school that morning. I woke up in the driver's seat, parked right outside the front doors, rain hammering against the windshield. The key was still in the ignition. My knuckles were white around the steering wheel. Part of me wanted to leave the car running, turn around, and never come back. But I didn't. Teachers never quit mid-week. It's this stupid sense of duty drilled into us. When I walked into the building, the hallways were empty. The hum of the fluorescents sounded off. like each bulb was slightly out of sync. My shoes left wet prints all the way to room 2B. The door was cracked open, lights already on. I froze. I always turn them off before leaving. Inside, the desks were arranged differently, 2 neat rows instead of 3. The back seat, Kara's seat, was closer to the center now, like someone had dragged it forward in the night. The notebook lay open, but it wasn't blank this time. The entire page was covered in small writing. Line after line repeating the same thing. You called me again. There must have been 100 of them. I backed away, but the classroom door slammed shut behind me, hard enough that the window rattled. My heart jumped straight into my throat. The knob wouldn't turn. Locked. All right, okay, I muttered. Who's in here? No answer. Only the sound of rain, and then faint breathing near the empty desk. The notebook's pages began to turn on their own, fast, whipping in the stale air, until they stopped on a page near the middle. A single sentence written there. Why did you call me? I took a step closer. Because I wanted to know who you were. The lights went out. I could hear the chalk rolling across the board. My own reflection flickered in the window glass, dim, double exposed with something behind me. I turned and saw it. The outline of a girl sitting at the teacher's desk, hair hanging straight down. Not transparent, not quite solid. She was looking at the attendance sheet. Her hand moved, slow, deliberate, tracing the line that said Kara Jensen. Then her finger slid down and stopped beneath my name. I didn't even write my name there. The room went silent except for that low electric hum you hear right before lightning. Every instinct screamed, "Don't move." But I did. I reached for the light switch. My fingers brushed cold metal, and the moment I flipped it, she was gone. Except the chalkboard wasn't empty anymore. There was something scrawled across it, so large it nearly filled the board. Stay. The word pulsed faintly as if written with light instead of chalk. I ran then. I don't even remember grabbing my keys. The hallway stretched longer than it should have. Every door I passed looked the same. Same number plate, same flickering bulb. When I finally reached the stairwell, I heard the door behind me open on its own. Footsteps. Light. Deliberate. In rhythm with mine. I bolted down the stairs, the emergency lights blinking red against the walls. The whole building hummed like an old radio tuned between stations. Somewhere below, a door slammed. Then another. The air tasted metallic, sharp, like ozone. When I hit the ground floor, I stopped. The exit sign glowed above the double doors. Salvation, right there. But the glass was fogged from the inside. Letters began to form on it, backward again. You called me. I didn't wait. I threw my shoulder into the door, burst into the rain. The sound was deafening after that silence. I didn't stop until I reached my car. Inside, my hands shook so bad I could barely get the key in. The windshield fogged immediately, my breath heavy. I turned on the wipers and froze. On the outside of the glass, drawn perfectly through the mist, were 2 handprints. Small, child-sized, dripping wet, as if pressed from the inside out. No, no, no! I wiped them away. They came back. Again. And this time between them, another word appeared in streaky letters. Here. The engine stalled. The headlights flickered once, twice, and died. I sat there in the dark for almost an hour. The rain slowed. The fog outside the windshield thickened until I couldn't see the school anymore. Only the faint orange glow of the street lamp bending in the mist. That's when the car radio turned on by itself. Just static at first. Then faint breathing, slow, steady, matching mine. A girl's whisper came through, almost gentle. Mr. Halden. I ripped the radio dial out of the console. The static didn't stop. It just moved, filling the car, buzzing against the windows, pressing inside my ears until I shouted. "What do you want from me?" The answer came as a low hum from everywhere and nowhere. "You called me." The notebook from the classroom lay on the passenger seat. I swear I hadn't brought it. Its pages fluttered open, stopping on a clean sheet. Words appeared slowly across it, handwriting so faint it looked carved instead of written. "You replaced her." I slammed the car door open, stepped out into the downpour. The street light blinked 3 times, then went dark. The entire town seemed to vanish into the fog. When lightning flashed a moment later, I saw someone standing beside the school gate. Small frame, soaked hair plastered to her face. She raised her hand, waved once. Then the light went out again. I didn't sleep that night. Couldn't. I just sat in the kitchen waiting for daylight, waiting for something to make sense. But nothing did. The notebook still sat on the table beside me, open to that same page. The handwriting darker now, like it had been traced over and over. New words below the last line. "You took my seat." I think she doesn't just want me to see her anymore. She wants me to stay. I didn't go back to the school for 2 days. I told the district I was sick. Maybe I was. My hands wouldn't stop shaking, and my head buzzed with that same low hum I'd heard from the radio. But on the 3rd morning, a voicemail from the principal changed everything. "Mr. Halden, we need your attendance sheets for audit. Please drop them off before noon." The message ended with a click. I should have ignored it. I didn't. I drove through the fog, every turn of the wipers syncing with my heartbeat. The school sat alone at the end of a long empty street, windows black, parking lot flooded with rainwater. The building looked older somehow, like it had aged decades overnight. The main doors were unlocked, no lights, only the faint glow from the exit signs. My footsteps echoed down the hall, too loud, too slow. The smell of wet paper and burnt dust clung to everything. When I reached room 2B, the door was already open. The notebook was gone from the desk. Instead, a single sheet of printer paper lay there, still warm. Fresh ink bled slightly at the edges. The header read, "Cedar Valley Middle School Attendance, 2018. There it was. The name I'd been seeing for weeks, Kara Jensen, marked present. Every other name on that page was crossed out. The year she died. I felt something brush past my arm, a cold draft that didn't move the papers. The chalkboard behind me creaked. When I turned, new words had appeared. "You took my place." The air in the room thickened, heavy with that ozone tang. Lights flickered once. Then I heard the sound, faint at first, of a child humming. A melody too slow, too familiar. It took me a moment to recognize it. The same tune the kids sang during dismissal, a school song. Only now it was warped, off-key. I followed the sound down the hall. The closer I got to the gym, the louder it grew. The floor tiles grew slick, damp under my shoes. When I turned the corner, the smell hit me. Smoke and melted plastic. Inside the gym, the lights buzzed and died, leaving only the emergency beacons. In their flicker, I saw black marks trailing up the walls. Burn scars. Someone had repainted over them, but the soot still bled through, and at the center of the gym floor, a ring of desks stood arranged in a circle. In the middle, the same notebook, pages fluttering in wind that wasn't there. I stepped closer. The handwriting on the pages changed as I watched, shifting between neat cursive and jagged scrawl. Words appeared faster than I could read them. She stayed. They left. He called. She stayed. He took her seat. The air rippled. The desks groaned, wood bending, screws popping. Something invisible pressed outward from the center, warping the floorboards. Then, silence. All at once. A single voice whispered behind me. "You called me." I turned slowly. She was there. Not a blur, not a shadow. Her. Kara Jensen, standing where the exit should have been. Skin pale, hair dripping, eyes too dark. Her clothes looked scorched, half fused with her skin. Kara. I didn't mean to say it, but the name slipped out like breath. She flinched, tilted her head. Then she smiled. Small, wrong, like her face didn't remember how to do it. "You said it again." Every light in the gym exploded at once. Glass rained down. I covered my head, stumbled backward. When I looked again, she was closer, an arm's length away. She reached out. Her hand was cold, but when her fingers touched mine, I saw it. Flashes. The classroom, the fire alarm blaring, smoke filling the hallways. A teacher, not me, yelling for students to run. Kara, coughing, frozen in her seat, too scared to move. Flames crawling along the floor toward her desk. The memory wasn't mine, but I felt it like it was. I saw her lungs fill with smoke, saw the ceiling collapse, saw her name burned into the attendance sheet as present, long after the fire was out. She never left. I gasped and pulled my hand away. The vision shattered. The gym was dark again except for the faint glow from the notebook. Its pages had stopped moving. Only one line remained on the final sheet. "You're the substitute." Her voice echoed everywhere now, layered, distorted, older and younger at once. "Someone has to take attendance." The desks creaked, turning one by one until they all faced me. The notebook slid across the floor and stopped at my feet. The pen beside it rolled upright, waiting. "No," I whispered. "No, I'm not staying." But my hand moved anyway. I don't remember deciding to pick up the pen. I just did. My body didn't feel like mine anymore. The pen pressed against the paper, and my hand started to write. R. Halden, present. It felt good, like giving in after fighting too long. When I looked up, Kara was gone. The gym was empty. The air still smelled like burnt paper, but the weight of it had lifted. For a moment I thought maybe it was over. Then I heard the morning bell ring, kids laughing in the hallway. A new day starting. I stumbled to the door, opened it, and froze. Room 2B. Clean, bright, full of sunlight. 23 students turning their heads toward me. And in the back, the seat by the window no longer empty. A new substitute sitting there, confused, clutching a clipboard, watching me the same way I'd watched her. On the attendance sheet on my desk, one line stood out in fresh ink. Kara Jensen, absent. And below it, a new name added by hand. R. Halden, present. I guess I was always meant to stay. If anyone finds this recording, don't go to Cedar Valley Middle. Don't sit in room 2B. Don't touch the attendance sheet. It's been, I don't know how long. Days, weeks. The clocks here don't move right. The sunlight outside looks painted on. I'm still in the classroom. Everything's clean now. The desks are polished, the board is spotless. Even the air smells new. But the hallway beyond the door doesn't lead to anything familiar anymore. I tried opening it once, just once, and saw nothing. No floor, no walls, just fog. The students come and go, different faces every day, but always 23 of them. They don't seem to notice me much. Maybe they can't. Maybe I'm just a voice now. Sometimes I catch my reflection in the window, and for a split second, it isn't me. It's her, Kara, sitting where I sit, writing in the same notebook, smiling faintly, like she's watching herself from the other side. She's still here. I think we both are. At night, the classroom changes. The lights flicker. The room fills with smoke, faint but sharp enough to sting my eyes. I hear the fire alarm echo somewhere far away, looping endlessly. The kids vanish. The desks turn toward me, always toward me. And on the board, those same 2 words, take attendance. I tried not to. I really did. But the papers print themselves now. 24 names. Mine's always last. R. Halden, present. I can't stop it. I think I understand now. Kara never left because someone had to stay. That's how the class goes on. That's why the seats never empty for long. The walls hum like they're breathing. Sometimes the printer starts on its own in the middle of the night. The paper slides out warm, smelling of ozone and ink. The names change, but one always stays the same. Kara Jensen, marked absent. Maybe tomorrow, she'll come back for her seat. If you're listening, please, when they call you to sub at Cedar Valley, just say no. Don't open the door. Don't let them hand you that clipboard. Because once you take attendance here, you never leave. Class is in session.